Awesome. Okay then. So, welcome everyone again. So today we're gonna talk mostly about what you see here in the picture. And the main topic for today will be the shadow. But before that, just a few reminders. Take everything with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything I say, and just take whatever resonates with you. Okay? So just trust that the information that you hear is for you, and what is not for you, just let it go. Because it's possible today we're going to go into topics that are a bit triggering, but we will see if we go there. We will see depending on the mood and depending on the vibe. Okay? Good. So, let's talk about the shadow. Who here has heard of the concept of the shadow? Okay, awesome. Can anybody explain it or give us more definition of it? Anything. There is no good or bad. If not, I can say.
Dark subconscious sides.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say that unconscious side is a shadow. It is not conscious, so it is a shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to Jung, it is everything that is not conscious.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we deliberately or not push some topics. So think that we don't want to see,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't want to see, don't want to feel, we want to forget. It's there because it does not disappear, and it's acting from that. But
Exactly.
in the way that we are, again, not conscious.
Yes. Yes. So more or less, the shadow represents all of our parts that we have forsaken and that we have forgotten and that we have thrown into the shadows or into the unconscious because we don't want to see them, we don't want to be conscious of them, and we don't want these parts to be a part of us, even if they are a part of us. Because most of these parts they are coming from our nature. And what I want to that's why I selected this picture, because this picture represents exactly what the shadow is. Because when we come here in this physicality, in this dimension, we are whole, we are complete. So we have many sides of us, right? We have our mind, we have our aggressions, we have our emotion, our sexuality, our spirituality. So we have many sides to us, right? And many aspects of ourselves. We also know that we have many roles within ourselves. Just an example, now I'm in the role of the teacher. But I also have other roles like the joker or many other roles depending on the situation. And all of these aspects of ourselves, they are all with us at all times. Like when we first came here and we were imagine pure white, all of these aspects, we were aware of them and we were conscious of them. But what happened is we got here and we started learning about the programs of society. And suddenly society told us that this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, or all kinds of rules and programs. Of course, they also depending on where you live and where you were born. And because of these programs or these judgments, because at the end of the day, it's a judgment if this is good or this is bad. Yes, in some cases, some things are objectively bad and some things are objectively good, but again, there are many shades to this. So what happened is, because of these programs, we tended to say that some aspects of us are not good. They're not worthy, or they're not accepted by society, so we didn't accept them ourselves. So what did we do? We throw them into the shadow, or into an unconscious part of ourselves. And what happens with this part is that most of these parts, they do not disappear. They are always there in the subconscious, and you need to remember that these parts, they are part of us. And in a way, how you can say it's like a child. Imagine like an aspect of ourselves, for example, anger, like a child, and because we say like, okay, you are bad, I'm gonna throw you somewhere in a cellar, so I don't want to see you. And because of that thing, that aspect of us is suffering. And if on a subconscious level, and if we don't bring it to the surface for us to see it, to be conscious of it, and to integrate it back into us, to become again a part of us, then what will happen, because this is our nature, that part of us will need to express itself one way or another. So it's like if that anger, just to give you an example, it's continually suppressed, and it's not accepted at one point, that anger will need to come out, doesn't matter how, in a violent way or in a drastic way. And this is usually the times where people, for example, they get stressed, angry. At that one point, they are so angry that, I don't know, they commit a murder or they do something horrible. Because this is the part of
get sick.
Or get sick, yes. So yeah, because this part of us, they have thrown away because they believe that this is bad, and they do, and also society believes it's bad. And it's not only, you need to remember that this part can be anything. Okay, it can be creativity, for example, because in childhood you believed or you were taught that, oh, creativity is bullshit, it's like you don't need it, the only thing you need is hard work, hard work. And if you believe that, then you, through this creative part, you believe that, oh, so this means like this part of me is bad, so you're going to throw it into the shadow. And then later on, this part of you will manifest one way or another. And usually, like, the more you suppress it, the more it will try to get out, doesn't matter in what way. So this is when those, like, diseases, accidents, and stuff happens. Okay. Is it clear so far? What is the subconscious? What is the shadow part of us? Mm-hmm. So it's all the parts that we don't accept because society told us that it's not good for us. But in reality, if we exclude the programs of society and we go back to nature, because this is our origins, then we will realize that this is who we are. Because imagine, for example, okay, we took creativity. Imagine another part of us, which is mostly like blocked and thrown into the shadow, is our sexuality. It's a part of human nature. And the more you will try to block it and to throw it in the shadow as something bad or something like villainous or guilty or shame, like that's like the judgments that will be put on the side. At one point it will come out, and it will come out in a way that you will not prefer. So that's why it's important for us to do this. This is what is called shadow work. To look at all the parts of us that are in the shadow, and this is very, very hard work to do. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we created our identity on this white side, on the light side, let's call it. And we decided that, okay, we are this and we are good. And we don't want to be bad, right? We don't want to be the bad guy. And then what happens is when you go and try to get those parts of you back, it's very hard to go there because you created your identity, and everything that is here is like the opposite of your identity. Make sense? So it's like you're a hard worker, that is your identity, and then when you go to get back your creativity, and creativity is usually what? It's flow, it's time, you need to you need to let go. And it's like it contradicts your identity. Right? So that's why it's so hard to do the shadow work, because if you're still in your identity, it's hard to go into the shadow part or into those parts that are forsaken. And a little trick is if you want to retrieve your shadow sides, you should get to a point where you can let go of your identity and become nobody. And when you're nobody, then you're free to go to whatever parts of yourself that you consider good or bad. Because again, you're nobody. If this will come with meditation, because the more you meditate, you will at one point detach from your ego, from your personality. You will be outside of your ego, and then you will be like, oh, I'm actually not the ego, or not the personality, or not the actor. And once you're outside of it, then you'll be able to realize, oh, this is just like a mask that I'm wearing. So you can change the mask whatever you want, or you can just throw it and become nobody. And in that state, it's much more easier to go deep into the darkness. And most of the time, the darkness may represent like suppressed emotions, anger, shame, guilt, and everything in between. Does it make sense so far?
Mm-hmm. But one question.
Yeah.
So when you're detaching yourself and you're nobody,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're just looking at yourself, down self. Meantime, he's just living his life and just seeing all his parts, also the shadow part, and
Mm-hmm.
just analyzing them,
Mm-hmm.
like you do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because let me try to give an example like to help with this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that you have this thing, what is called perfectionism, and this is a part of your identity. And the moment you will try to go to those parts that are quote unquote imperfect, if you go with the identity of you want to be a perfectionist, that you are a perfectionist, the moment you go into those parts of you, it will be very, very hard. It will be annoying to you. Because it's like exactly the opposite of what you think you are. So that's why you need to let go of what you think you are, and then go into that part of you. If it makes sense. And this is very individual work. Because every part of us, everyone has a different part that is in the shadow. Depending on childhood, depending on trauma, depending on many situations. And also like the shadow is trying to hide from you. Also. Because whenever there are situations where, for example, you see an aspect of another person and you will point it out. And what will happen is the person will get angry or get upset or something. This is what is happening in that moment. Is you're pointing a shadow aspect that he or she is not aware of and doesn't want to go there. Okay, so they don't want to see that part. The part is manifesting in an unconscious way that maybe they are not aware of. And because you are pointing it out, they are getting angry because they don't want to see it. They're actually angry at themselves, but they will be angry at you. So this is like what is called projection. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. So it's always about the anger, right?
No. It's many aspects. It's like everything. Everything can be in the shadow. Not only anger.
You meant anger as a reaction.
Yeah, as your reaction.
Okay.
Not as
When
When
you're
it's about
pointing
my
out.
shadow, let's say,
Yeah.
and you make me angry, so
Mhm.
it means that it's something from my shadow.
Yeah. So or it's let's say it's a part of your shadow. Again, this depends a lot from person to person. You know, 'cause maybe it's like you get angry, but maybe it's not from the shadow. Maybe it's just another trigger from somewhere else. So that's why I don't want to say, for sure that this is the only thing, because it depends a lot from person to person. Yeah.
Regarding that kind of situation when somebody is just referring to the example you said,
Mm-hmm.
it's also possible to see, this is what I read, but I also experienced that,
Mm-hmm.
that things, some characteristics of other of other people that make you angry or annoy you or you hate something about other people. Not always, because it's never the rule doesn't exist like that, but it's very often exactly something what you have in your shadow, and that is why when you look at other people, it makes you angry, because you see that element that it's in fact it's you. That's why I think when many people say that people get angry to those who are in fact similar to you.
Exactly.
I had very strong experience like that this year, but it's maybe for later.
Yeah, it's exactly like that, because it's actually a part of us. We see at another person the part of us that we hate about ourselves, that we cannot accept, and that's also in the shadow.
Yeah.
And this is why also we hate our parents so much, because no, it's true, because we have a part of themselves within us that maybe we hate that part, and when we see that part in them, we get triggered. So this is universal, especially like if you're traveling, it's like your life is perfect, everything is good. Once you go home, it's like all the devils come out, all the darkness comes out. This happens because it's like, again, it's a part of us that we got from our parents that we don't accept, or we still haven't processed. So then, what the thing is about the shadow is we have all of the aspects of ourselves, and what we need to do is we need to bring them into the light of consciousness, to be aware of them, and to accept them back within yourself. And the more you do this, the more you bring all of these aspects back within yourself, the more light you will be, the more you will raise your frequency. Because what happens in this modern time, I don't know if you heard about spiritual bypassing. So spiritual bypassing is a method of avoiding the shadow. So it's like you whenever there is something bad or something worse, it's like, no, we don't look at that. We don't look at that. We just look at the love and light. That's all. We just look at the bright side. In a way, yeah, that's good because it's a way optimistic and looking at the positive side. But you cannot deal with the shadow by avoiding it. You need to face it, and then you need to accept it and embrace it with the light of consciousness, or with the love. Because you need to imagine that there are no good or bad things. This good or bad, it's just a concept that we learned here, in this reality. If you go higher into consciousness, for example, in a meditation, if you go higher, you will get to a point where you will see everything as it is. There's no more good, no more bad. And then you will realize that this part is also you, and you want it back. Because it's not good or bad, it is. It's a part of us. Just because we learn these rules from society, that doesn't mean they're true. Because most of the awakening process is unlearning or deprogramming from these programs that we were taught in society. And we say like, okay, this I don't want, and this works. So this is most of the process. Another thing about this is, if you want to be strong spiritually, and what I mean strong spiritually is, I mean, to be able to maintain this awareness and this love and light frequency, you need to go into the shadow and you need to befriend the shadow. Because the people who, okay, this is just giving a few examples, if you just work within the light, like this spiritual bypassing, and you're just like love and light and nothing else, and you're completely avoiding the darkness, the moment the darkness or bad situation appears in your life, your spirituality is gone. Okay, so you're not solid within your beliefs. That's why it's important not only to know the light, to know this connection that we have, but also together with this connection to explore the darkness and not to be afraid of it anymore. Because we are so afraid to go into this feelings like shame, blame, guilt, and something, and all of these like lower emotions because we think they're bad. And we don't want to go there because it's like, oh, I don't want to feel ashamed, I don't want to feel this. But you need to realize that these are parts of you that need also your love. They need also your attention and your awareness. And the moment you go into the darkness has no more power over you. Once you face your shadow, you can face the shadow of other people. This is how it will happen. And then whatever situation happens, I don't know, like fear or rage or something, you can be still strong and grounded because you have dealt with these emotions. You know how to deal with fear, with shame, blame, and guilt. Because you have dealt it within yourself. And once you don't have it within you, you cannot be controlled by them anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, but at the same time, it's so difficult to to accept to be wrecked, to be wrecked by the pain or that have broken, or the anger, and you're gonna feel so bad that that it will be so hard that you're just trying to avoid it, but at the same time, as you said, you have to, just open yourself to experience it. But I don't know, I think it's the human nature to feel the danger in it, and
Yeah, it's hard work. I'm not saying it's easy, for sure, but it's worth it. At the end, when you're able to conquer it, then it's like the next level of freedom. Because it's like, yes, it's hard with the anger and with this fear, because we are afraid of it. We're just afraid to be in there, right? And we know all the hardships of human life. But the moment, this is also important to this connection with the light. Because in my experience, I've realized that whenever I tried to face the darkness by myself, it was very hard, because I would feel like overwhelmed, defeated, and much more. It was like me against an army, something like this. But when I connected to the light, this connection that we do with the white light and with the higher aspects of ourselves, when you're in that state, it's much easier to go into the darkness. Does it make sense? So it's like when you connect to the light, it's much more easier for you to do this work. So you need to go both ways, like a bit up and a bit down, a bit up, a bit down, and it's like a tree. The roots are growing, and also the corona is growing. The crown is growing at the same time. Also, Jung had a quote. It was saying that no tree can reach heaven if its roots cannot reach heaven. So it's the same thing. Imagine here the tree. If you want to reach to heaven, your roots need to reach heaven. That means you need to be conscious of everything within reality. Does it make sense?
Okay, but it's about to get to know everything about yourself, the best things and the good things, okay, now I understand. So there's no, as you said, you don't have to say that one experience is good and one is not good, it is bad.
Yes,
it's the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from the higher point, everything is neutral. Because the goal of the shadow work is to become a unified person. Because what we tend to do is we tend to fragment ourselves because of society, and we tend to only this part I'm going to show, and the other parts that are still myself, that you want to do it but it's labeled as bad, you don't do it. And then what happens? It's like depression happens and all of these bad emotions, because you're literally avoiding a part of yourself. Another way to explain it, or another example, is imagine right hand is good, left hand is bad. So it's like you hide your left hand and you just work with your right hand. It doesn't make sense. You need both hands. Even if society says it's bad, you still need to work with both hands. That's more efficient. Okay, but this doesn't mean that you by embrace, because this goes even more deeper. The moment you have accepted and you become aware of also of your bad sides and of your shadow sides, the only thing is like it cannot control you anymore, and then you can choose what you want to be. Because if there is no more good or bad, then you can choose what you want to be. And most people will choose to be good. Why? Because it feels good. It's as simple as that. Is it clear so far, or it's a hard topic? I know it's kind of dense or dark, but we need to address it at one point in time. And everyone in its own time will face it at one point or another. And this is how you grow the most. You grow the most by bringing light to the shadow. And by doing this, you'll have more light within your system. So imagine here is like half a light bulb. It's a little bit of light. If you open this one, complete light. Does it make sense? Yeah, I know that this will come with time. Okay. Another thing about the shadow that I wanted to tell is that within us we have all the good, and all the bad. What do I mean? It's within us. We are an angel and we are the devil at the same time. So we can be what we can be. We are everything within existence because we are the universe in human form. So what do I mean by this? Is when you become aware of your darkness, you will also become aware of these, let's say, characters or masks, or the entire spectrum from angel to devil. And what do I mean by this? It's you think now that you're a good person, that you are good in this situation, but there could be situations where you could do stuff that you would never think that you would do. Horrible stuff, crazy stuff, and that is just like another aspect that dwells within you. Also, Jordan Peterson, he discusses this, that one time he was in prison, and two inmates, they were fighting. At one point, another inmate literally destroyed one's leg with a hammer. It made like complete destroy. And he was contemplating, how would anybody do this? Like, why would they do these terrible things? And then he realized that in that situation, anybody is capable of doing that. So what do I mean by this? Is within you, you have this side of you that will do immense good, but you also have the side of you that can do immense evil. Just for you to be, again, like the shadow, you need to be aware of these aspects. Once you are aware of both polarities, then you can choose what you want to be. And most people will choose the light just because it feels good. Because at one point in your growth and in your awareness, when you get to neutrality, to there is no good nor bad, how do you know what is good and what is bad? I'm asking.
Can you repeat, please?
Yes. Once you get to a certain point where you see everything is neutral, so this is no good nor bad. How do you know what is good, or how do you know what to act?
You just answered it before, like what is harmonized with you, what is make you comfortable or in the nice vibration.
Yes, it's like that, because at one point we will get empathic. What does it mean? We will feel what the other person feels. Mm-hmm. And why we want to do good things to the other person is because when we do good things, they feel good and we feel good because we are connected with them. They become one with us. Does it make sense?
But you said something like most of the people they will choose light. So have you ever heard like that some people like consciously they choose shadow?
Yeah. There are a lot of people.
And it can be like they feel like it resonates with them better.
Yes, there are people who they're evil consciously evil. They're not doing it because it's like, you know.
I mean, they are aware of like light and shadow, and they choose shadow. I mean.
Yeah, but
it's like that. Okay, they do it consciously, so we cannot say that they do it like unconsciously because of they are sick or schizophrenic or something like that. So they do it consciously, but still they don't know like the reality of, I don't know, love relationships or relationships based on love. Yeah. They don't have this experience like of normal life, of loving parents. So okay, they do it consciously, but actually they have a lack of love also experience.
So, but I'm referring a bit to different situation, like that somebody is aware, like really aware of light and shadow, and he, for example, he's aware that, I don't know, he had kind of like lack of love in the childhood, and even though they choose like shadow.
I don't know situations, but it could be possible. Because everything in this universe is possible. So there could be people like that. Also, when it comes to this part, it's these people usually, from their side, they don't see the other person as a part of themselves. They see, the other person as something completely separate. And what they usually do is they act out of love, but love for themselves, not love for the other person. And because this is the difference between service to self and service to others. Because once you expand your consciousness and you realize that you are one with the other person and the other person is you, then that love is extended to the other person. Make sense? Because the other person is no longer separated from you. It's like you're all one. Because if the person is separated, then you can do whatever, because it's like, oh, that's not me. That's in a way also how I see it. But again, it can go deeper than this. Okay, there can be many examples. So yes, it's important also to know that you are both sides of the coin. You can be an angel and the devil, also depending on the situation. Just become aware of these two polarities. And after that, you can make the choice.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Have you ever caught yourself doing something bad, but like you caught yourself like in the middle, like you are doing something bad, so maybe you choose to continue or to stop, but you are already in the transit, Like it was like, I don't know, an unconscious start.
Yeah.
And then you just managed to control it.
Yeah, I think it happened. Like I remember, like one time I was angry at my sister, and I like just raised my hand, and I was like prepared, but then I stopped, like right in the middle. But yeah, like it happens. It happened.
Okay. Yeah. Also for me, but like also I don't know, for simple things. For example, lying. A lot of I think human beings are lying a lot. Like, we are making up stories. I don't know what is happening inside. But yeah, and I don't know. A lot of time you are just so normalized with the fact that you can lie because who knows what is not, and you're just catching yourself keep on lying because it's normal, and then you just stop yourself and say, come on, what are you doing? Don't lie. Yes. Just tell what you are really thinking. And, this is, for example, like tell exactly what you're thinking. This is like something out of the box. Like, you have to have the courage to say it and control yourself and be proud about your thoughts also, and be also prepared to have somebody else who is pointing at you and saying, hey, you're not right.
Yes.
But this is more something what you are aware of. So if people are lying and it's not something really deep hidden in the unconscious. I think it's a different.
We're going out of the topic.
Yeah, I'm going out of the topic, but just because like sometimes you're just doing it without any kind of control, just because.
Yeah, well, that's like an unconscious part.
Yeah, exactly. Something that I wanted to be connected like this.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but also like I can connect it to this, because once you get to that point where you no longer lie, and you're just like, this is who I am, point, and you like behave like that, that's in a way you accepted yourself. You integrated all of those parts.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to say. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's at one point when you fully become yourself, and you don't care about what other people think of you. Okay, that doesn't mean you don't respect them. You respect them, but you are yourself authentically, every part of yourself. So that's it. Without hiding, without lying, without all of this. So yeah, that's like when you completely integrate yourself. And integrate literally means that you identify that part of you as yourself. Like, okay, this is myself. Like this part of myself, when you integrate it, it's like, yes, I am memory. Yes, I am like this. And you accept it. Because anger or aggressiveness is not bad. Especially, like, for example, you can transform that aggressiveness into assertiveness or into competitive sport or into business or something. But if you suppress it, then it can manifest into other stuff that you maybe don't want. So.
By the way, this example, what do you think? This example of lying, if someone made this step to understand, why I lie, it's the first one, but the second would be why. Maybe behind this why is the shadow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry guys, I'm not expressing myself in the best way, but
no, it's fine.
This is what I was wanted to highlight. And thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, exactly. It's this like contemplation of why you do certain things. Because we also like do certain things just because everybody else does it. So it's like if everybody else lies, we think like, okay, I should lie also. So yeah. This also can happen. Okay. So let's talk about the soul, or soul fragmentation, because it's very connected with this part of the shadow. So the word the soul, it's very ambiguous. So so let's change it, instead of soul, let's change it with power. Soul. Yes. Soul, because I know it's like, where is your soul? Or, can you feel your soul? So in a way, I don't want to go into this like super outside of the box topics. So I prefer to use a language that is easier to understand. So instead of like soul, we call it your power. So your power is actually not in your body. It's your body. It's in your soul. So the soul or your power is completely around you, and your body is just a part of it. Now, when it comes to this, the soul has many. In a way, it's delineated, and it's one with everything. So in a way, it's a paradox. From our human mind. However, one thing that you need to know about the soul is your power, and what can happen with the soul, it can get fragmented, or little parts can break and can go somewhere else. And what happens is usually with the shadow, because we accept only one part of our soul, and the other part or the other aspects we throw them away. So then what happens is we have less soul, or less power to work with. And not only from the shadow side that we fragment our soul, but we can also give some soul fragments based on different situations. Did you ever hear this like word that you gave your heart to somebody? Because in reality you actually did. You gave a part of yourself to that person. A part of your soul is in that person. And you give it like maybe consciously or maybe unconsciously most of the time. Or for example, when you travel and you say that I left my heart in Italy or in Portugal or in Greece or somewhere. That is because you actually did. You left a part of yourself, a part of your soul in that place. And what happens is the more you will fragment yourself into different places, you will start to feel ungrounded, you will start to feel like unconcentrated, you will start to feel like you don't have enough power, enough focus, you will start to feel like you're all over the place. You know that feeling when you're like, I'm all over the place, because you actually are. On a soul level, you're all over the place. You know, in different persons, in different projects, in different locations. So in a way, we fragment ourselves to many places. There is a technique to bring all of these soul fragments back to you. But you bring all the fragments that are visible to you. Because, for example, when you also integrate your shadow, you also integrate parts of your soul back within you. So when you do this work, you actually become more powerful on the energetic side. Make sense? It's like parts of a puzzle. Like some puzzles are dark, you cannot see them. When you bring light to them, it's like you put it into the puzzle. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And also, like what can happen is when you have a trauma, then usually what happens when you have this deep trauma, a part of your soul actually fragments and goes away. Because it's a trauma or it's an experience so intense that you don't want to be there or you don't want to be aware. And what happens is like a part of your consciousness is like goes away. It's like, I don't want to experience it, and then that part literally detaches from you. Does it make sense?
But it's like when you are feeling in pieces, like when
Yeah.
people are saying I'm feeling in pieces, like destroyed. This is when a part
Also.
of the soul is abandoning you, like for
A part, more like many parts.
okay.
Yes. Also, when you're feeling in pieces, yeah, it's like it's like a trauma, and that it's so intense that part of you leaves. But you can get it back. That's the important part. Actually, all of these soul fragments, you can get it back. And the more you do this work to get all of these parts within you back into you, then you will what is called like complete soul integration. Like your complete, it's like every part of yourself is like back to you. I don't know if you can see the picture. Like a complete puzzle is like every little puzzle. You're back. And with this, I wanted to go. Do you want to say, or you want to have questions? Yeah.
It wonders me what you said about this traveling, especially because it's so common now that people travel, and usually people feel good when they seen people, places which are great, which they like. But what you said, it could put a completely different light into this. And I wonder if it's how I feel about it.
Well, to be honest, it's not actually about the traveling itself, it's about the attachment to that place. Because it's like they're like, I love this place so much, I don't want to go, you know? And they need to go physically, but a part of them is still like there. So that's that it's like they don't want to let go of that place. Also, one moment. Also, another interesting thing about the soul is whenever you're planning to travel somewhere, your soul will go there to plan the trip ahead of you, to prepare the energy and all of that. So when you get there, you get safe, or you get whatever you need to get. So that's why it's like whenever, like for me, I feel it. Whenever I have something planned, I'm already there, playing that in that time or in that space. And whenever I don't have anything planned, it's like I'm completely here. So yeah, yes.
Yeah. Actually, my friend said that she doesn't like to travel by plane. She likes a lot like going by car or whatever physical means that's not so fast, because she had this image that actually when she goes, she feels that okay, I arrived somewhere, but my hand is still like somewhere else, and my leg is still like 100 kilometers away, because and then she has to wait like 2-3 days to actually integrate again. So it's really nice.
That's
If
very
I
nice.
wanted to share, but in different words. A friend of mine who also worked with energy, and he told me, like, it was a long time ago, I used to travel a lot, really a lot. And he said, when you travel by plane, focus that your aura, that your soul still travel with you. I'm laughing because, thinking or talking about something so unconcrete, so loose like soul, and she's not fast enough. So for me, I could never understand it, but still, sometimes I remember that hey, come with me. There.
Are you here?
Or it's something what you said.
There is also this phrase, it's like I went away, but the part of me never left. And it's like that's a part of your soul. Because in a way, the more you practice, you can start to feel it. To feel like it's like a part of you is like not here with you, and it's like maybe at home, because you're like all of your worries or all of your thinking is at home. So yeah, with time you will start to feel it.
One more thing you said about this, the soul going ahead of you to places. I wonder if it works like that, or the soul knows what will happen.
Yes.
I don't want to bother you with too many stories, but I was really planning to go. I had this plan, really go already, sold many things, packed almost. But it was verbally, me and family, we are going there, but I knew somehow, I felt that somehow I couldn't see myself, like my soul didn't see, my soul didn't go there, maybe didn't start to prepare, so I didn't feel that, and it didn't happen. I mean, it's really like that. So maybe it works, maybe once, we should trust the feeling more. If we don't see ourselves somewhere, maybe it's a sign we will not go there.
Yeah, and you can use this in so many ways. But definitely, to trust ourselves more. That's like highly important. Yes.
Can I do something just to be like a little bit, more complete? For example, my experience with the traveling, it's the opposite. Like, I am traveling, I'm going in a place, not because I'm planning it, I'm never planning it, it doesn't have to be planned, and it's essential. I don't want to know where I'm going, because when I'm departing, I'm in pieces, like I'm not full, and I want to feel, I want to integrate those parts, and when I'm departing, I'm not myself anymore, I can be whatever I want. And I'm just fully discovering myself meantime. So by walking in places that I don't know, meeting new people that I will never meet again maybe, and sharing, stories, and just walking, for 30 kilometers in maybe in a desert or all alone. And for me, it's like heaven. Like I'm feeling extremely full of everything. And when I'm leaving that place, I'm actually so full of myself that I'm not leaving anything behind.
Yeah.
Like, really, nothing. Like, it was a really extraordinary experience for me, but it's not like I'm leaving a piece of myself there. It's just like, okay, I have good memories I've seen nice people and nice places, and that's all.
Yeah.
But the planning, for example, I'm using it in my real life. Like when I want to do something, I'm like, for example, a new job, for example, I'm planning it, and I'm with my soul and my head there, and I'm already living that life, and I'm feeling it deep, and so in this way I'm trying really to reach out the destination. I don't know, like I think it's like the opposite.
Yes, you can work with it however you wish.
This is crazy.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can go in so many different directions, and at the same time to have like a really positive output. So
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Also another important thing is if you want to manifest something, for example, you see yourself there. When you want to manifest something, it's important to focus on one thing and really focus on that, because imagine like your entire soul, your entire focus, your entire energy is that on one thing. Once it's done, good, next thing, and so on and so on. Because it's like you're using a laser, more like that, instead of like being in 10 different places, and it's like none of them is like getting work, because it's like every piece is like in another place. Make sense?
Yeah.
Like what you said. Like when you're there, you can focus on that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like a lot of time I'm feeling myself as I'm living in the future and not living in the present so much in my real life when I'm not traveling and just doing ordinary stuff. So a lot of time I'm just saying I just want to bring myself back, because I'm losing sabotage in the present, so it's not good.
So like in general, I wanted to ask about this sensation of leaving part of your soul in one place that you've been for holidays, for example. Do you think it's good like to bring it back?
Of course.
Like because you need to be whole here.
Yes, I mean the thing is the more whole you are, the more soul you have, the better you will function. That's it, and the more peaceful you will be. But this is the next part of the discussion actually, that we're going to talk about the emptiness. That's in psychology they have this like the emptiness that cannot be they cannot be filled. So what I believe from my own experience, because to be honest this is pretty subjective, is I believe that this emptiness, it's actually a part of your soul that you haven't got it back yet. So it's like this part of your soul, it's gone. So that's why you feel this emptiness within. And what we tend to do, we try to fill this emptiness with worldly stuff, right? With drugs, sex, alcohol, rock and roll, food, and whatever. But the thing is that as much as we try to do that, it will never fill in the hole or the gap, because you cannot fill it with things from this dimension. Because that emptiness is actually a part of your soul that you haven't retrieved yet. And this is why I believe this is so important to know yourself and to get all of these fragments back, because the more you get all these fragments back, the more peace you will feel and the less desire you will have. Because you don't no longer need that stuff, because you have it within. You have the feeling. Because I do believe that most of the things that we want, besides physical stuff that we actually need, like home, food, shelter, money, and stuff like that, we actually are searching for a feeling deep inside. And we say that okay, we want money, but actually maybe is it really money, or do you want freedom or abundance or prosperity or just security? You want to feel the feeling of relaxation, of being secure. Do you want a partner, or do you want to feel accepted and loved? And this is the feeling that you're searching for. So I do believe that most of the things that we are searching outside is actually a feeling that we want to have. And once you get all of these soul fragments back and integrate them back, you will have all of this already within. That doesn't mean you cannot have the other things outside. Now you can have them even better, because there is no longer a gap that you need to fill. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I believe. It's with that emptiness. It's that emptiness cannot be filled with things from this dimension. It can only be filled with a part of your soul that went away at one point in time.
Question. So
Yeah.
I guess this soul, like fragmentation, so going back, this is another topic that, how to do it.
Defragmentation, like
to come back. I
Yeah.
suppose this is like a massive super topic. Yeah?
Mm,
Like,
no.
Okay, so how to do the soul, like how to bring soul?
It's actually very easy. To be honest, it's more like an intention.
Okay.
So I have a meditation for it, but to be honest, you can just like go into meditation, relax, and set a strong intention to bring all of your soul fragments back. And if you do that, they will come back, and you will feel it. Another thing it's important to do is that a lot of the soul fragments from other people, you can have them in your field or other people's energy. So what you need to do before is send them back and then bring back all of your soul fragments. Especially like when it comes to relationship or close friendships, a lot of like the soul fragments from the other person can be in you because of this strong interaction. So what you need to do, you need to release them and send them back. Does it make sense?
Yeah, are you able to easily actually reach out? Because you said that some of the fragments may be like, like trauma, like very like from darkness.
Yeah.
Are you able, like by sheer intention, to bring them back by?
Some fragments are harder to bring back because there is a lot of trauma blocking them. So for those parts, you need to work on the trauma, on these feelings, on the things that are blocking it. Because in a way, how I see it, now that you bring it up, it's imagine that in that place where it's empty, you have this darkness, and you need to clear the darkness so the peace can come back, and like click it. That's how I feel it.
You would like to make all psychologists and therapists poor.
Exactly.
Like that? Come on.
Maybe
It's 2
maybe
years
we just
therapy.
found the key. That's interesting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the thing is, like some parts can easily come back, while other parts need work.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is what I was wondering before. Sarah asked that actually, there is this emptiness. Usually, what comes to my mind when we speak about emptiness is like that we are not loved. We don't feel loved. And for example, let's say we didn't just get this unconditional love when we were children. But then it would be we never experienced it.
Yeah.
Probably we had it before we came here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we speak about this fragment that we had before we came here.
Yes.
Yeah? And then we want to bring it to us as
Bring
a
it
piece.
back.
Bring
Yes.
it back. But then it's this trauma of
Of the
growing up,
rejection.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's not that easy, because otherwise we wouldn't need therapy.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yes. It's
Yeah?
exactly
Okay,
like
so
that.
this is the concept.
Yeah, because we have also these pieces like love and unconditional love that are very connected to our divine nature. Because imagine like being a divine being coming here and then experience this lack of love, this neglect, this stuff. It's traumatic. So what you need to do, in my opinion, is you need to try to connect back to your essence, and then with this light, try to heal that trauma. It's like, because just to give the example that you said with unconditional love, it's like, okay, how can you heal unconditional love if you haven't experienced it?
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
But then there has to be.
There has to be in how I see it and how I usually do it is I try to connect to that feeling, to really feel it, and then to see, okay, what's blocking it, and that's how I usually take it. Because to be honest, for me, I'm like, okay, I need to know what needs to be here, and what is it. If it makes sense. It's like, okay, here should be unconditional love, but what is here? It's actually trauma. So I need to release it and then bring that peace back within me. Because to be honest, it's kind of hard to bring a piece back if you don't really know what it is. So yeah, but again, this topic can be like can go very very deep, especially when it comes to trauma. Like, so yes, and I think that's all. That's all like for today. If you have any more questions or anything, let me know.
But a lot of time, like, I don't know, maybe I'm talking for myself. I couldn't like overcome some, traumas by myself. I needed help.
Yes.
So like, I don't know, it's difficult to stay alone and to complete yourself in this way. So I think it's also essential that somebody is helping with maybe a piece of person to
yes, like somebody can guide you, but they cannot do the work for you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, at the beginning,
Of course.
for the support,
Mm-hmm.
it could help. Like, okay, what I really want to ask, it's helping you, like it's productive for you, or not? Because
To do what?
like to complete yourself, because you are too, I don't know, so devastated that you just cannot do anything with yourself, right? But and at the same time you have to start the work for yourself.
I don't really understand. Like,
Is it what did you say? Is it productive for you? That's what
Yeah,
you asked.
exactly. It's
Is
productive.
it worth it?
Mhm.
Is it worth? I think that's
if
the
it's
question.
worth it to do this type of work,
To even
or
start when you are like ruined, that you are devastated. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say yes. I mean, especially when you're deep in those feelings, if you can get out of those feelings, like
Okay.
as an observer and observe yourself, then you can learn a lot about yourself. Because then it's like when all of the things are out and to the surface, and then is when you can observe yourself. But you need to be able to detach yourself from these feelings, because it's very hard to manage those feelings while you're in those feelings. Does it make sense?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the job, because it's whenever you have trauma, fear, and stuff like that. If you're really in them, you cannot navigate them. You need to, in a way, go outside of them as the observer and observe it, and say like, okay, this is the feeling, and then you can learn more about it, if it makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Especially like that's how I do it for myself. Whenever I have like these emotions or stuff coming up, I immediately connect, and then I just observe it, not as myself, but as something like I go outside it. So then it's like it's much easier to deal with than to be like like in the fire, of these emotions. So yeah, it's productive. Okay. You can also close it. How many minutes was it?